Okay, I'm going to start this morning by just officially welcoming all of you guys. Sawadee Krap, Sawadee Krap. Welcome to Watang Yu. Nice to see all of you guys this morning. Today is part of our group learning program, where each Sunday and Wednesday I get together with students and help them understand the path to enlightenment. Part of that is meditation, so we're going to be starting with meditation. But I'd like to welcome all of you guys here at the temple and everyone who's joining us online. Welcome to everyone. We're going to start with breathing mindfulness meditation to help you guys train your mind and understand a bit of the teachings of the Buddha. And then afterwards, I'm going to open up to any and all questions that you guys have. Usually on Sundays, what I do is I have a talk where I share with you a chapter from our book. We have a book that we use to guide this program where each Sunday I share chapter by chapter. We just shared chapter 6 this past Sunday, and this Sunday we're in chapter 7. So this is a program that you can learn over a period of 7 months to gradually learn the foundational teachings of the Buddha. And we have other programs and courses and retreats which I can share with you guys about a little bit later as well. But we usually start with meditation, so I'll start you guys with that. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to ease you into meditation with some chanting, which you guys are welcome to join along in if you'd like. We have the chants over there on a laminated sheet on the table. You'll see the chanting that we do. It's in the Pali language. You're welcome to get one at any point if you'd like to see the chants, and then you can even chant along. It has the English translations as well. The chanting that was done during the lifetime of the Buddha was done in order to help people commit the teachings to memory. There isn't anything mystical or magical about the chanting. It's not a rite or ritual or ceremony or worship. It's not prayer or anything like that. Instead, during the lifetime of the Buddha, everything he taught was oral. So they needed the chanting as a way to commit the teachings to their memory. So every 2 weeks, they would be chanting or reciting his teachings word for word as a way to commit the teachings to their memory. Nowadays, we chant in order to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation because we have books and videos and podcasts and audiobooks and things like this to be able to capture the teachings. So we don't need chanting in order to accomplish that. But chanting does help to kind of get more benefit out of the meditation. So if you'd like to chant along, you're welcome to. At different times in different programs, I teach students how to do the chanting because it's really fun and nice to be able to learn it. So you're welcome to chant along as I go in the chanting. After the chanting, I'll provide you some guidance in the meditation. You'll be hearing me speaking and kind of guiding you in the meditation. But then there's going to be a period of time where it's just quiet. We're just going to all be meditating together. I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds like maybe a car going by or a dog barking or maybe a bird chirping or something like this. This is all impermanent. So whenever you hear these things or if your mind moves to these kinds of things, just keep bringing your mind back to the breath. And then after that period of time of quiet where we're all just meditating, those of us here and everyone online, then it will come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And you guys are welcome to join along there as well. In terms of your body position, to help you guys get started with meditation, there's 4 different positions that the Buddha taught. He taught seated, lying, standing, and walking positions because your body can't permanently be in the same position all the time. But oftentimes students are learning in the seated position. So I'll give you guys a little bit of guidance on the seated position, whether you're sitting on the floor or you're sitting in a chair. If you're sitting on a floor, usually people sit with their legs lightly crossed, whereas if you have them real tight, the circulation can be impeded and you might notice some pain in the legs. But what you would like to do is just keep them nice and softly crossed. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This helps to get their hips up in the air and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles. So feel free to do that if you like. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is helpful for you and you would like to use it, you're more than welcome. But it's not about everybody doing it exactly the same way. You need to find what's comfortable for you, and everybody's body is a bit different. So if you find this to be comfortable, feel free to use that. But there's other options too, like putting your palms on your thighs or on your knees or your palms up. Some people like to put their hands just resting comfortably in their lap. So you can find whatever's comfortable for you, including those of you guys in chairs. Just find whatever's comfortable for you. If at any point you would like to use a chair, feel free to use that. In terms of the upper body, it's helpful if it is erect, because by keeping the upper body erect, it keeps the mind attentive and alert during your meditation, so you can actively train the mind. So with your sternum up and your shoulders back, this helps to keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation. It also helps you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, getting the ability to easily breathe during your meditation. So I'm going to go ahead and ease into the meditation with chanting, and then afterwards I'll come in with some guidance to help you in your meditation. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakewa Bhutang Mahakewanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakewata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakewato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakewa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakatoro Kawitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Once the breath is well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out.
Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Hotang Bhagavanhang Abhivateyami Savakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Arhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatava Manuasanang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly ease your way out of meditation. Once again, I'd like to welcome all of you guys here at the temple. Welcome to everyone online. Nice to see all of you guys this morning. For those of you guys that are here for the first time, I'd like to let you know that we have a bathroom in the back of the room, the very last door on the right. You're very welcome to use the bathroom at any time that you like. There's even bathrooms in the main temple complex. If you go outside the classroom and you follow the signs around, you'll see the main bathrooms for the entire complex of the temple. We even have water here that is provided by our students, so you're welcome to help yourself at any time to the water. What I'm going to do is share a little bit of a taste of
the teachings of the Buddha with you. And then afterwards, I'll open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to anything about the teachings of the Buddha, the path to enlightenment, anything you're seeing about Buddhism, whether it's in the news, whether it's in books, whether it's here in Thailand, anything that you've been taught growing up that you'd like to talk about, any challenges or struggles that you're having, any insight that you'd like to have about the path to enlightenment, whether it's meditation or any other aspect of the path to enlightenment, you're welcome to let me know. For those of you guys here at the temple, if you would like to ask questions once we get to that point, we have microphones here in the white bowl in front of the camera. If you get a microphone and you press the gray button and you wait for the lights to come on and you hold it up to your chin, we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll also be able to hear you online as well. And for those of you guys online, you can ask questions by putting that into the comment section of Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any and all questions that you like by just opening up your microphone. We'll be able to hear you here, and they'll be able to hear you on the live stream as well. So again, welcome to all of you guys. You're welcome to ask any and all questions that you like as we go in today's class. So what I'd like to share with you, just to kind of give you a little bit of a taste of the teachings of the Buddha, is that the teachings of the Buddha are here for people who aren't interested in experiencing anger and sadness, frustration, that they're done with the irritation, the annoyance. They don't like feeling guilty and shameful and fearful. They're tired of being stressed and having anxiety. They're looking to get rid of boredom and loneliness and shyness and resentment and jealousy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you've eliminated all these feelings. What the Buddha did is he figured out that this is the problem in the unenlightened mind, that you experience all these discontent feelings. We refer to them as conditioned feelings, that essentially the mind is feeling happy, excited, elated, thrilled, euphoria, but then it feels sad and frustrated and angry and irritated and annoyed. And then it's feeling lonely and bored and guilty and shameful and stressed, having anxiety and sorrow and grief and misery and despair. The mind's essentially going up and down and up and down. This is the problem that's in the unenlightened mind. And then he also discovered the cause of that problem. The cause of that problem is what's called craving, desire, attachment, the longing, the yearning, the chasing after the objects of your affection, wanting things to be a certain way. When the mind has these cravings, desires, attachments, if you get what you want, you get pleasant feelings. You get happy, you get excited, you get elated, you get thrilled because you're getting what you want. Maybe somebody's doing what you want, maybe you get what you want, maybe it's sunny outside and you really want it to be sunny and now you're happy because of that. Or maybe a certain bank account balance. When you get that certain bank account balance, you're happy because your bank got to that particular balance. Or maybe your mom or dad or brothers and sisters, maybe you want them to do something specific. And when they do things your way, you get happy and excited and elated. But because of impermanence, in that things are constantly changing in the world, when you have cravings and longing and yearning and wanting things to be a certain way, they can't be that way permanently. It's not possible because everything around you is impermanent. Everything around you is temporary. It is not permanent. So as long as your mind is craving this permanence, wanting things to be a certain way all the time, now you'll be happy when you get things your way, but you'll be sad or frustrated or some other painful feeling when you don't get things your way. And this is why the mind goes up and down and up and down. And you can independently verify this for yourself. You can see that your mind is causing your own discontent feelings. Because in the unenlightened state with a lack of wisdom, you will tend to blame your feelings on other people. You will think that someone else is causing you to be angry, or somebody else is frustrating you, or that situation is annoying me. But in reality, it's not the external things, it's not the outside world that is causing these inner feelings. What's causing these inner feelings is your own cravings, your desires, your attachment, your longing, your yearning, chasing after the objects of your affection, thinking the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some lasting satisfaction. It's like the mind has an unquenchable thirst. When you're feeling sad or angry or frustrated, you might think, I know what I need. I need a new boyfriend or girlfriend. Let me get a boyfriend or girlfriend. That'll solve everything. Let me get one of those. And you might chase after that or really long and yearn for it. And you might get one. And then when you do, you feel happy for a period of time and then it fades away. And you get angry and frustrated and sad again. And you're like, I know what I need. I need more money. That's what'll solve all of this. Let me get some more money. That'll fix it. And you might chase after more money. And then you might get some more money and you feel happy for a period of time, temporarily. And then you feel sad and angry and frustrated again. And it's like, I know what I need. I need a new house or a new car or new friends or new jewelry or new clothes, or I need some kind of food. Let me go after that. Let me go do this other thing. The mind is constantly searching outside of itself for something that's going to produce this permanent happiness that the mind craves. But you can't experience permanent happiness based on external things. If you've been taught that if you're rich, you'll be happy, this isn't actually true. If this was true, then rich people would never commit suicide. You would never see anybody rich commit suicide, but that's not what we see. We see people that are rich that actually end up killing themselves because they're experiencing painful feelings. They're not happy necessarily, right? So money and wealth and fame and fortune and all these things, it's not going to lead to your happiness. The way you get to permanent happiness is you train the mind to eliminate its cravings, its desires, its longing, its yearning. So the Buddha discovered the problem is these conditioned feelings, the mind going up and down and up and down. The cause of that problem is craving, desire, attachment, chasing after the objects of your affection, wanting things to be a certain way. And you can only be happy when you get things your way. And as I mentioned, you can independently verify this because you can look at your life and you can see in situations where you're angry, irritated, and frustrated, if you would have got things your way, if you would have got what you wanted, you would have been happy. But because you didn't get what you wanted, you felt sad or angry or frustrated. And then the Buddha discovered the elimination of this through eliminating craving, desire, attachment. You can eliminate your discontent feelings. You can eliminate them from the mind. Because your mind is causing these feelings, you can actually eliminate them. If it was something external that was causing your discontent feelings, you might get angry or bitter or harsh or hostile towards people, thinking that mom or dad or brothers and sisters are causing your feelings. You might be angry and bitter and harsh with them. Or you might push people aside out of your life. This is called aversion. You might push a person or you might push a situation out of your life, thinking this is going to solve the problem. But it doesn't solve the problem because you still get angry, you still get frustrated, you still get irritated. If pushing people out of your life was going to solve the problem, once you pushed people out of your life, you wouldn't get angry or sad or frustrated anymore. So because they aren't the cause of the problem, when you push them out of your life, it doesn't actually solve the problem. You still experience the problem, which is the anger, the sadness, and the frustration. So in the unenlightened state with a lack of wisdom, people will tend to push people or push situation out of your life. You might be bitter, harsh, and hostile towards people, or you might put your expectations on people, trying to control people and force people to do things your way. And none of this has worked. This is why your mind still experiences anger, sadness, frustration, and other discontent feelings. So the way to eliminate these feelings isn't by pushing people away, isn't by being bitter, harsh, and hostile, isn't by putting your expectations on people. This is just a symptom of the problem. This is the problem is arising. You're feeling angry and frustrated. You're falsely thinking that the problem is external. So you push people away. You're bitter, harsh, and hostile and put your expectations on people. So that's the symptom of the problem. That's not going to actually solve it. That's why you haven't been able to solve this problem your whole life. So the way you solve it is eliminating your craving, desire, attachments. Because craving, desire, attachment is the cause of this problem, if you eliminate your cravings, desires, attachments, that's what will solve it. And then the Buddha taught the way to solve this, the way to eliminate it, the path forward to eliminating your cravings, desires, attachments is the Eightfold Path. This is a core central teaching of the Buddha. It's 8 individual steps, 8 individual factors that he taught and described and helped you to understand how to train your mind in such a way that you can eliminate the cravings, desires, attachments. And when you learn this Eightfold Path, you can dial this in closer and closer in your life, and you'll experience the mind becoming more and more peaceful. So the teachings of the Buddha, they're not about a bunch of beliefs. They're not a bunch of things that you believe and then you hope something good happens when you die. That's not what he did. He also didn't teach you the way the world should be, through rules and commandments. And if everybody follows these rules and commandments, the world will become a better place. He also didn't teach rites and rituals and ceremonies and worship. This isn't what he actually taught. Even though people might attribute those to Buddhism, that's not what the Buddha actually taught. He taught you to cultivate wisdom about the natural laws of existence, about the natural world around you. So he didn't teach you the way the world should be. He taught you the way the world is. And you can independently verify his teachings through learning them and practicing them. And now with this wisdom, your mind will navigate the world more readily, more peacefully, more wisely, and you'll experience more wholesome results in your life. But as long as you don't understand the world around you, you will struggle. You will have difficulties. This is the reason why the mind's angry and frustrated and irritated, because it's living in a world that it doesn't understand. So when you live in a world you don't understand, you'll become angry and frustrated and bitter and harsh. But when you understand this world, when you understand the wisdom of the natural laws through learning them, examining them, investigating them, through reflecting on them to independently verify them, and through practicing them, integrating them into your life, now with that wisdom, you will navigate the world more wisely. And now with those wise decisions, you will experience wholesome results coming back to you. But when you lack wisdom, you will naturally make unwise decisions, and it's going to produce unwholesome results in your life. This is referred to as karma or karma. Some people use the word karma. This word karma is from the Sanskrit language, where the word karma is from the Pali language. The original teachings of the Buddha are in the Pali language, so I use the word karma. If it translated to just one English word, I would use that because it's much easier to just explain all the teachings in English. But this is one of the words that don't translate to just one English word. So I still need to use the word karma. What karma is cause and effect, or action and result. It's the results of your decisions. It's not anything mystical or magical. It's not punishments and rewards. It's not even about who's at fault or who's to blame. It's just a sequence of events that you make a decision, either wise or unwise, and it's going to produce results, either wholesome results or unwholesome results. It depends on whether your decision's wise or unwise. But when you lack wisdom of this natural law, you will tend to make unwise decisions without even realizing what you're doing, because the mind just lacks wisdom. It just doesn't understand what it doesn't understand. And as long as it lacks wisdom, you will tend to make these unwise decisions. It'll tend to produce unwholesome results in your life. And typically what the unenlightened mind does is it looks around you for somebody to blame, that everybody else is to blame. Or you might think it's good luck or bad luck that you're experiencing what you're experiencing. Or you might think it's destiny or fate or something like this. But in reality, everything you're experiencing is a result of the decisions that you're making. So if there's anything that you particularly don't care for about your life, all you need to do is cultivate wisdom, make different decisions, and you will experience different results. But as long as you're not cultivating wisdom, you're going to make the same decisions over and over and over again, and it's going to produce the same results, either wholesome or unwholesome. So the more wisdom you have about these natural laws, you can then make wise decisions that's producing wholesome results, or wholesome karma. And the goal would be to extinguish all your unwise decisions that is producing unwholesome karma, so that now more and more you can make wise decisions that is producing wholesome results in your life. And you do this through purifying your own mind and training your mind with wisdom, so that now you can purify your mind, make wise decisions, and only experience wholesome results. By the time you get to enlightenment, your mind is peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You're no longer experiencing any discontent feelings. All the anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy, even the slightest displeasure is eliminated from the enlightened mind. And you do this through purifying the mind, through eliminating the pollutions of the mind. You'll notice that you have focus, concentration, clarity, deep memory. The mind's performing optimally. You'll notice that your personal and professional relationships are blossoming, that they're significantly improving, and that they're at ease. Instead of being bitter and harsh and hostile and arguing in your relationships, everything is at ease. You're peaceful and joyful. You're not arguing with anybody by the time you get to enlightenment. You've purified your mind, so you're not even in a bad mood anymore. You're uprooted all the causes and conditions that are producing a bad mood. So you're just always in a good mood. It's permanent. by the time you get to the enlightened mental state, it's a permanent mental state. And this is something you can attain in this life. It's not something that you believe and then you hope it happens when you die. You learn, you grow, you develop, you reflect on the teachings, you cultivate wisdom, you integrate these teachings into your life. And the more that you train your mind moves closer and closer to this peaceful and joyful mental state. So like I mentioned, the teachings of the Buddha, it's not about a bunch of beliefs. It's not about rules and commandments. It's about learning. It's about growing. It's about doing this inner work. It's about inner improvement. It's about becoming a better and better human being. It's about learning this better way of life. It's not a religion or a doctrine. It's not something that somebody's expecting you to do. But if you are interested in getting rid of your anger and sadness and frustration and all these other discontent feelings, you can do so through learning the teachings of the Buddha and through practicing them. And where a teacher comes in is we're here to provide you the resources that you need to be able to learn these teachings, to grow and to develop and help you along the way. We're essentially holding the light and we're helping you walk this dark path of the world. Because if you don't have a light, it's like being out in the woods without a light. And now you don't have a light and you're going to trip and you're going to fall and you're going to stumble. And there's branches and trees and stumps and things that you're going to trip over. So a teacher is like a tour guide. We're kind of pointing out to you the things that you need to learn and grow and develop, but it's your own independent journey to enlightenment. We provide you books and audiobooks and videos and podcasts and personal guidance and classes and courses and retreats. And we do this at no cost. We don't charge anybody anything for these kinds of things, even personal guidance. You can sit down and talk with a teacher and get help about the challenges and struggles that you have. So you can get help here by asking questions in class. You can ask questions in our Facebook group. You can send private messages and I will help you. And you can schedule personal guidance where I can sit down and help you to understand the teachings. But it's your independent journey. It's your journey to enlightenment, where a teacher is helping you along the way and guiding you along the way. So if you would like to ask any questions about anything that I've been sharing or anything that you've heard about the teachings of the Buddha, this is just a little taste of the teachings of the Buddha. And what I'll do is open up to anything you guys would like to ask here at the temple. And if you guys, like I mentioned, wouldn't mind talking on the microphone, the people online will be able to hear you. And if you get a microphone, if you just keep it with you, then you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question. You can share the microphone. And for those of you guys online, you can put your questions into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any questions that you like. So are there any questions here? Any questions online you guys would like to ask?
Hi, David. I have one question about meditation. So I personally find it really hard to just focus breathing in, breathe out, this breath. So I read a book that recommends to set a subject for the meditation process. Maybe it's more like a subject that you talk to yourself internally, and I found it easier for myself to think the subject through and to make personal decision. And I'd like to ask you, do you have any recommendation, or is it more like the way to just focus the breath, or how about the subject during the meditation?
Sure. So I'm going to talk first about the goals of meditation and what you're working to accomplish, because then you'll understand the why you're meditating, and then we'll talk about the how. Okay. So what you're working to do with this particular meditation, a breathing mindfulness meditation, is you're looking to arise mindfulness or awareness of mind in concentration. These are the two wholesome qualities that you're developing. So that meditation we just did is to build your awareness of mind and your concentration, the ability to focus and have concentration. And you're training your mind to let go, to let go. So during your meditation, you might have had lots and lots of thoughts, and you had to let go and let go and let go and let go. Or when you're first learning meditation, you might indulge in a thought. You might have a thought, think about it for 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm meditating. Let me bring my mind back to the breath. This is very common when you're first starting to meditate. And this is the whole problem, that the mind isn't interested in being in the present moment. It wants to go frolic in the forest. It wants to run around and do all kinds of other things. It's not interested in just focusing on the present moment, which is the breath. So you're trying to arise this mindfulness or awareness of mind, this concentration, and the ability to easily let go, let go, let go. Because the cause of these discontent feelings is the mind's holding on. It's wanting things to be a certain way. And when it's holding on to things very tightly, it can't let go. And this is why it's getting angry and frustrated and agitated, because it just can't let go, right? You heard somebody say something to you, you feel disrespected, and now you're just so angry and frustrated you can't let it go, right? Or any number of different things. So this meditation of breathing mindfulness meditation is to get rid of the unwholesome quality of craving, desire, attachment, the longing, the yearning, the holding on, and letting go 20, 30, 50 times during your meditation is helping you to be able to do that. And you're arising the mindfulness and concentration. And this is happening through gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. The mind slowly accumulates these benefits over time. So this is the reason why you're meditating and why it's important to meditate, because now in daily life, when you go out into the world, you have mindfulness, you have concentration, and now when something occurs, you can train your mind to let it go, that you're not going to hold on to this thing and get angry and irritated. Maybe your phone broke. Maybe you dropped it and the screen broke. So rather than holding on to it and wanting it to be permanent, your mind understands that, hey, this phone is impermanent and it can't be permanently working. So let me just go get it fixed. Let me get a new one, or maybe I can't afford it right now. Maybe I need to save up some money, or whatever the situation is. Maybe my friend has an old one that I can use their old one while I'm saving up money. You'll figure out the solution of what it is that you're going to do. But if you hold on to this phone wanting it to be permanent, now you'll be angry and frustrated and you can't make those wise decisions. So you need your mindfulness and concentration to be aware when this craving, desire, attachment is coming up. And then you need to let go and realize that this phone's impermanent. So when you're meditating, it's important to focus on the breath because it brings the mind to the present moment. But understand that the mind is going to move off of that. And when it does, you let go and let go and let go. Even in the enlightened state, when your mind is on the breath, it's going to have a thought occasionally, but you'll notice it sooner and sooner, and you'll be able to easily let it go and come back to the breath easier and easier. In the unenlightened state, for many, many months, maybe even years, you're going to have various thoughts, depending on where you are in your practice. Some people come to the path with more pollution in their mind. Some people come with less pollution. So some people can notice a quieting of the mind or a stilling of the mind sooner than others. It just depends on what's going on in your mind. And that's why you're not comparing yourself to other people. You're on your own independent journey to enlightenment. So you're going to have a bombardment of thoughts. You're going to have indulging in thoughts. This is occurring, and you might describe this as hard or challenging. And the reason why is because the mind doesn't want to do it. The mind wants to run around and have all these thoughts and all these different things. So when people are teaching to meditate and have thoughts and think about your thoughts, observe your thoughts, someone might say, oh, that's easier. Well, yeah, of course, because you're not doing what the mind wants. Or you're not doing what the mind needs to do. You're doing what the mind wants to do. The mind wants to sit there and think about a bunch of things. So if you're trying to train the mind to be quieted and stilled and let go of your thoughts, if you're giving the mind something to think about, you haven't trained it to let go. You're just giving it another thought. This is why sometimes people will count during their meditation. 1, 2, 3, or puto, puto. This is common in Thailand. Puto, puto. You haven't trained your mind to do what the Buddha taught, which is to let go. All you're doing is you're giving it something else to think about other than the thought you would have had. You're thinking about some other thing, right? Puto. Some people count. Some people have other thoughts. You haven't really let go and quieted and stilled the mind. So if you're looking to build those qualities of mindfulness and concentration and be able to let go, you need to be able to focus on the breath, realizing that, yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. And that's exactly why you need to do it, because the mind doesn't have that ability in the unenlightened state to easily let go, that it doesn't want to do that. It's not interested in doing that. So there's the body, then there's the mind, and these two things have come together, and we call this a human being. And now there's this third thing that is the combination of these we call a person, right? So the mind is polluted, right? Just like the body, we need to clean the body every day. We need to clean the mind too every day. So the person, which is this third entity, is cleaning the mind. The mind's like, no, I don't want to get cleaned up. No, it's just like when we were 5 years old, 6 years old as a kid. We didn't want to take a shower. We wanted to play. Why do we have to take a shower? That takes too much time. I want to play. I want to have fun. The mind's the same way. It's like, I want to play. I want to go outside and play. And you're like, no, come over here and be trained. Come over here and be disciplined. So in the unenlightened state, it's actually not very fun. Right? When your mind's going up and down and up and down and up and down, that's not very fun at all. So when you train your mind to be still and quieted and calm, and you get rid of these pollutions, you're going to have lots and lots and lots of fun. But the mind's going to fight you, right? Because the mind is one thing, the body's another, and then there's this person that is interested in training the mind. And the person's like, come over here and get some training. And the mind's like, no, we're not doing that. And people come up with all these different things that they think is actually easier, but it's actually doing just the opposite of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, which is train the mind to let go. So even though it's challenging, even though it's hard, I would encourage you to focus on the breath and just realize it's gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. If the mind's moving off the breath 20, 30, 50 times during your meditation and you're having to let go, wonderful. That means 20, 30, 50 times you had to let go and let go and let go. And this is why meditating 10 hours a day just isn't possible. If you're doing meditation properly the way that the Buddha taught, you would be utterly exhausted if you were meditating that amount of time, because the mind's just constantly having thoughts in the unenlightened state, and you need to let go and 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 let go. Your breath this is the way the Buddha describes it. It's like a post, it's a pillar. And if you had these animals tied to this post and pillar, those animals are going to keep pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. And they're going to keep getting yanked back to the post and pillar. So the snake is going to go one way, the alligator is going to go one way, the monkey is going to go another way, the bird's going to go another way. And they're going to keep pulling and pulling because they're tied to this post. But they're going to keep getting yanked back. And eventually, over time, these wild animals realize that they're tied to this post or this pillar, and they're going to stop pulling because they realize that they're tied to this post and pillar and they can't go anywhere. And they're going to keep yanking back to this post and pillar. So eventually they're just going to sit down by that post and that pillar. And they're going to be calm and still by that post and pillar. So your mind is the same way. Your mind's going to be pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, but you keep yanking it back to the post. The breath is the post or the pillar. And if you keep yanking it back and yanking it back and yanking it back, eventually it's going to sit down and be still by that post and pillar. But it's going to pull and it's going to pull and it's going to pull for a long time. That's why it's so challenging, because it keeps pulling. And you're saying, nope, get back over here, get back over here, get back over here. And you're doing that many times. But eventually, over time, you'll see more and more that it'll sit down by that post and pillar, by that breath, that present moment. So just giving your mind something else to think about, it's just continuing to let it run and roam in the forest. It's not bringing it back to the post or pillar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions you guys have here, or anything online you guys would like to ask questions about?
Thank you, David. So, like in this realm of spirituality or enlightenment, whatever, there's sort of the image of the person, withdrawing from the world. the classic image of the man or the woman going to the cave for a few years, or even in the modern day environment, going on a 10-day retreat, or why do 10 days when you can do 30 days, and it goes on and on. As opposed to, but, or else just living in the world and dealing with the challenge of the world using the tools that are being taught. Is there, from your experience or observations, is there a benefit in the occasional withdrawal from the world, take a break, so to speak? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's the question.
Sure. There is a benefit in it, but it's not required in order to get to enlightenment, right? So when you have less contact with other beings, it's immediately eliminating your karma. Any karma that you would have produced, it's going to come through contact with other people. So if you have 100 people that you interact with on a daily basis, you're producing karma. You're producing either wholesome or unwholesome karma in each one of those contacts that you're having. Whereas if you kind of retreat and you kind of like go for an extended period of time where you're not interacting with other beings, it's immediately knocking down your karma because you're not having contact with other beings. But it's not required for you to do that in order to get to enlightenment. Oftentimes, by the time somebody comes to the path to enlightenment, they've already shrunk down their life quite a bit. Because when we were kids, if you think about it, when we were children, our life was like wide open. We were spending time with all kinds of people. We weren't judging our friends at 5 years old, 8 years old. We weren't looking at them and judging them and trying to decide whether or not we would like to spend time with them or not. What does their hair look like? How much money do they have? How do they talk? Do they respect me or not? We are just having fun. We're just out there playing and doing all kinds of things. So our life was wide open. We're spending time with all kinds of people. But as you age, you take on all these wants and all these expectations, all these cravings, and the number of people you can spend time with becomes fewer and fewer and fewer. You might have noticed that. As you've aged, the number of people you spend time with becomes fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer because your cravings, desires, attachments are growing. So your discontentedness is growing and increasing. You're experiencing more and more painful feelings. And the mind thinks the way to solve this is push people away. So typically as you age, you kind of shrink down the number of people that you spend time with because you've pushed people out of your life, or you've become bitter and harsh and hostile, or you've put expectations on people. And then by the time you come to the path to enlightenment, you kind of don't really have too many people around you typically. And this can be helpful actually as you're training your mind because it gives you time to work with your own mind. You don't have 100 different people to attend to. You can just work on your own mind and train your own mind. You have less contact with people. So where the images usually go away to a cave or a retreat, you can actually accomplish something very similar by consolidating your life, where you just have kind of a handful of friends, maybe a couple of family members, maybe a couple of coworkers or something like this that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, but you don't have so many people that's in your life. And now when you've consolidated the number of people that you spend time with, you're producing less and less unwholesome karma that you have to deal with. And now you can do all this work to train your own mind. And then once you train your own mind, you kind of expand back out. I think of it like a bow tie, that your life is wide open when we get started. It kind of shrinks down. Then we're kind of in the knot of the bow tie, doing all that inner work. And then we start expanding back out, right? And when you start rebuilding your life, making wise decisions, producing wholesome results for you, selecting wholesome friends and companions, selecting a wholesome job that's going to sustain you. You're rebuilding your life, but you're rebuilding it based on these natural laws, where before things were kind of collapsing for us. As we did different things in the world, we might have had boyfriends and girlfriends that fell apart. We might have had marriages that fell apart. Our children might have left us, or a job might have fell apart, and we've had all this calamity in our life. And that's what kind of leads us into this knot. And then if we do the inner work, we'll eventually be able to expand back out. And that's where you rebuild your life. And it's like, wow, this is a whole better way of living your life. So it can be helpful, but you don't have to go away to a cave necessarily. You don't have to do those kinds of things. But if you do consolidate your life and have less interaction, this is going to produce less karma for you to have to deal with. And that will be very beneficial. Whereas if you had 100 different people in your life producing all this unwholesome karma, you're going to need to extinguish all of that at some point. Great question. Have some more questions coming in? Yeah. You guys are welcome to get microphones. Oh, it looks like we have some questions. Let me take one online here, and then I'll come back to you. This is Leo. Leo, if you'd like to go ahead and unmute your mic, we'll be able to hear you here.
Yeah. Hello, David.
Hello, Leo.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. My question is, why is our mind more attached to some things than to others? Like, for example, mobile phones, watching YouTube, playing computer games. It's more fun for us than doing things like, just examples like sweeping leaves, go swimming. I think a lot of amount of people are more interested in having fun, so playing games like this. You know why we have more attachment for some things than for others?
It's all personal preference. Different people are going to be attached to different things. Not everybody's going to have the same experiences. So for you, the cravings, desires, attachments that you have are going to be unique to you. But other people are going to have certain cravings, desires, attachments that are unique to them. Some of the most challenging craving, desire, attachments tend to be relationships, like mom, dad, brothers, sisters, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, children. These, the mind tends to hold on to very closely. Sexual contact is really challenging for some people. That's a certain craving, desire, attachment that the mind wants. These tend to be universally that you'll see a lot of people that will have challenges with these cravings. But the ones that you're mentioning, it can vary from person to person. They're different from person to person.
But I think that, like sweeping the street, I think more people like to play Call of Duty on PlayStation than doing that. It seems for me that a bigger amount of people, for example, in Germany, the young male people like to play computer games, like they are really stuck into that, for example. Than playing maybe games on the table with the family. It seems for me that that some things are for a bigger amount of people more fun, stuck into that than other things. Is it because of condition? Everybody's doing that, so I also do this, or is there are things make you more craving to them? For the most people, I know that some people don't like playing computer games. They maybe like to walk in the garden, sweeping the street. It's far more fun for them, but it seems that more people like to do like playing games on PlayStation, for example.
Yeah, surely there's a lot of people who enjoy playing, right? But there's also people who are attached to work too. We even refer to that as workaholic, if you've ever heard that word, right? So it's unique to each person. You can see that people tend to like to play, but you can actually play and be enlightened too. It's learning how to play without craving, desire, attachment. Sometimes people think that when I talk about peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy, which is the enlightened mind, they think that, you must be mute, you must have no feelings, you must not be having any fun. This is actually not true. It's just the opposite, because you're always having fun, because you're not experiencing the anger and the sadness and the frustration. In the unenlightened state, you're going up into this happiness and excitement, but then you're dropping down into the painful feelings of sadness and anger. For an enlightened being, you're just always having fun. You're always enjoying what you're doing. So kind of back to what you were saying, Leo, is, some people like to play, and some people like to work, but there's some people who like to play and they don't like to work, right? So what the Buddha is teaching you is how to get to the point where you enjoy playing, but you also enjoy your work, right? Whatever you're doing to sustain your life and however you're making an income, that you can enjoy that too. Or whether it's washing dishes at your own house or sweeping your own floor, like what you were mentioning, you can enjoy that too. But in the unenlightened state, you can't enjoy it because you want to play And now you're feeling like you're stuck, having to sweep the floor. But if you understand sweeping the floor is impermanent, and yeah, you need to do this for 10 minutes or 20 minutes every once in a while, no big deal. You're going to do that, and then you get time to play. But if you're holding on to the play and you're wanting that to be permanent, when you're needing to sweep the floor, you're not going to like that. You're going to feel disgruntled. So you can get to a point where you enjoy all of this because you don't have a craving to do one thing or the other. You can just enjoy all of it.
Okay. And what's about alcohol and drugs and so on? This makes a lot of stimulus for us. Really like that. What is about that? Why we do like this so much? Because it makes us more easy, more peace maybe, or feel better. But why is that? Is it also a condition?
Yeah, I wouldn't say alcohol and drug feels more at peace or more calm. For me, what I think of with alcohol and drugs through the experiences that I've had is that what it does is it produces conditioned feelings that you will tend to experience potentially some amount of excitement and happiness, but then it's induced by a stimulant or a substance, so it's only temporary. So your mind goes up to what we call a high, but then it drops off and you go down into the sadness and the frustration and the depression. And then you need more of that substance to pick your mind up again. And then you experience that for a temporary period and then you drop off again. So the reason why we move to those substances is because it's a way to get to something that the mind finds to be somewhat comfortable. Because in the unenlightened state, when you're experiencing painful feelings like sadness, sorrow, grief, displeasure, the only thing that the unenlightened mind knows how to do is crave something to get to pleasant feelings, to get back to something that's somewhat comfortable. And for some people, that's a substance. For other people, it's gambling, or it's sex, or it's shopping, or work, whatever it is, money. And so people will crave. When they lack wisdom, they think, well, these painful feelings feel no good. So the way that I get to something that feels somewhat comfortable is I crave something to get to those pleasant feelings. But what they don't understand is that's actually the problem. That's keeping the cycle continuing. That if the whole reason why you're experiencing the painful feelings is because you're craving something that you don't have. So craving something like drugs or shopping or sex or money, that's not going to solve the problem. That's just going to give you pleasant feelings that are conditional, that are temporary. And sure, your mind's going to go up to some pleasant feelings, but it's going to drop right back off again into the painful feelings. The higher you go, the farther down you drop. So what the Buddha is teaching you to do is get rid of all these cravings, desires, attachments, so your mind can just always be joyful and always be happy.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Don't think. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I want to go back to the last question because, he asks about going to a quiet place to get your peace of mind. Mm-hmm. Then I want to ask, what's the goal or what's there? When you are on the path to enlightenment or you are closer to enlightenment,
your mic went out on you. We have some others. We can get some more.
Yes. When you temporarily get more a peace of mind, and when you ready to explain your life again, what's happening? Is it you are just because internally you just have peace and you can embrace anything that happens to you or around you, or it's more you can make wiser decisions so you attract the right things to you. Yeah,
okay. Yes, so the whole reason why we experience certain unwholesome results in our life is because we're making unwise decisions. Where these unwise decisions are coming from are the pollutions that are in your mind. The Buddha describes these 10 pollutions as the 10 fetters. And we call it a fetter because it's like a shackle and a chain and a ball that's keeping you trapped in a a particular mental state, because during ancient times, this is how they would keep prisoners trapped. They would attach a fetter to their leg. It was a shackle, a chain, and a ball. So these 10 fetters or these 10 pollutions is what's producing all the unwise decisions in the mind. When we talk about them at a high level, we talk about them as craving, anger, and ignorance, or unknowing of true reality, the unwholesome roots. So when you're making decisions through craving, this is your like selfish desires, the things that you want in the world. Then when you make decisions through anger, the hostility, the bitterness, and then where all this is coming from is the ignorance or the unknowing of true reality, the lack of wisdom. So when you're making decisions through craving, anger, and ignorance, the unwholesome roots, it's always going to produce unwholesome results. So what you're doing when you're training, if you decide to just kind of bring your life down to a minimum, you don't have to do this, but this might be what you choose to do, is you're going internal and you're starting to get rid of this craving, anger, and ignorance. You're uprooting these pollutions out of your mind through applying tools and techniques that the Buddha taught. This is why rites, rituals, ceremonies, and worship doesn't work to get to enlightenment, because there's no amount of water I can sprinkle on you. There's no amount of strings that I can tie on your wrist that's going to help you get wisdom. You need to cultivate your mind and train your mind and apply the tools and the techniques that the Buddha taught in order to uproot these pollutions out of your mind. Because as long as these pollutions are in your mind, you're going to make decisions through your own selfish desires. You'll make decisions through your anger and your frustration and your bitterness, and you'll make decisions through this unknowing of true reality, or this ignorance or confusion or delusion. And when you do, it's going to produce unwholesome results. But there's wholesome roots. Just like there's unwholesome roots, there's wholesome roots too. The wholesome roots are just the opposites. So if craving is making decisions through selfish desires, the wholesome root is generosity, where you're giving and you're sharing more than is strictly required without any expectation of anything in return, right? So like Steve's practicing generosity right now. He's putting those batteries into the microphone. Nobody told him to do it. Nobody asked him to do it. He's sharing his time, effort, energy, and resources more than is strictly required without any expectation of anything in return. And it'll produce wholesome results, because you guys will be appreciative. It's like, wow, he changed the batteries. This is a nice guy, right? He's a friendly guy, right? Because it's producing wholesome results, because he's practicing generosity. Then the opposite of anger and hatred and ill will, which is that second unwholesome root, the opposite of that is loving kindness, or this genuine interest in seeing all beings be well, this active goodwill. So we have meditation to train your mind to cultivate this loving kindness. And then the third one is this ignorance or unknowing of true reality, the confusion, the misunderstanding. The opposite of that is wisdom, where you're making wise decisions through the natural laws that the Buddha taught. So when you're making decisions through craving, anger, and ignorance, it's going to produce unwholesome results. So if your mind is untrained, which it is in the unenlightened state, and you have 100 different people that you're interacting with, you're making all these unwise decisions without even realizing it. And it's producing these unwholesome results. But when you kind of shrink down your life, if that's what you choose to do, you have less people that you're interacting with, so you're making less decisions. They're being less impactful. You're putting less harm out. And now you're transforming your mind. You're getting rid of the craving, anger, and ignorance, and you're arising this generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom. And now more and more you start practicing that with that select group of people around you, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people, whoever it is that you have around you. And now when you get really good at that, and you can see that your mind is being transformed, you're experiencing more peace and joy, then you expand back out and you start spending time with more and more people. But you start functioning more and more through generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom, rather than the way you did before, which was craving, anger, and ignorance. And now that generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom is producing more and more wholesome results in your life. Make sense? Yeah. So this is referred to as the 3 poisons, or the 3 unwholesome roots, or the 3 fires. And then there's antidotes or remedies or solutions to this, where you uproot this out of your mind. And like I mentioned, these teachings are independently verifiable. You don't believe them, but you can see the truth for yourself that, yeah, I do make decisions that are kind of selfish sometimes. And yeah, I am kind of angry because I don't get what I want. And I make decisions through that anger, and it produces unwholesome results for me. And where all this is coming from is the ignorance, the lack of wisdom, the unknowing of true reality. The mind just doesn't understand that you're going around making all these selfish decisions and making decisions through your anger, and you're being bitter and harsh and hostile in your relationships. And the more you're bitter, harsh, and hostile, this just keeps coming back to you. Because when you argue with mom argues right back with you, probably, right? Or when you're bitter, harsh, and hostile to your coworkers, they're exactly the same way with you, right? This is what you put out, it comes back to you. So when you transform your mind and you do something different, you will experience different results. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over that you have been doing, you're going to keep experiencing the same results. So the Buddha is helping you to be able to see true reality, and you can be able to see it yourself, that you can transform your mind. And all of what you're experiencing is impermanent. So if you're tired of the broken relationships and the heartache and the misery, you can transform all that. But you need to transform your own mind. It's not about changing the outside world and convincing other people to do something specific. It's about training your own mind, and then you can get to this peace and joy. And you'll be able to do that easier when you consolidate the number of people that you spend time with. If your life is wide open and you're spending time with hundreds of people trying to train your own mind, it'll be very difficult for you, because you don't have the time that you need to focus on your own mind, be reflective of your own thoughts, do your meditation, come to the temple and do all the things that you need to do. But having transformed your mind more and more, you'll get to the point where you can expand back out, and you'll know when that is the case. And yes, you will attract people who are more wholesome, the more wholesome you are. But it's not anything mystical or magical. It's just that wholesome people tend to like it when you smile and you're friendly and you're cheerful, and your complexion is going to change and your eyes are going to brighten up, and you're going to be talking in more positive ways and more friendly and uplifting ways, right? Rather than being degrading and diminishing and belittling and harsh. People aren't interested in being around that. But when you're positive and you're uplifting and you're bright and you're radiant, people are going to be attracted to that naturally. So as you become more and more enlightened, more and more people are going to be interested in spending time with you, because you're going to be really wise, and people are going to be interested in what it is you have to say. And they're going to be interested in, hey, how can I experience that same thing? Sometimes we think that we need to go out in the world and change the world, right? But that's actually not going to work. You can't change the world, because there's 8 billion people in the world. The world's functioning based on the natural laws. Instead of trying to change the world, understand the world, understand the natural laws, change your own mind. And by you changing your own mind, you have changed the world, right? So you don't have to go out in the world and carry this burden of changing other people. Just change your own mind through learning the natural laws. So you don't have to change the world, because the world, you can't change the natural laws. They are the natural laws. But when you change your understanding of the world, when you understand the world, now you have changed the world, because you've changed the way you interact in the world. And this will be a drastic improvement to your life and to your mind. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You have another question?
Yeah, actually, I have another
You can
question.
have 5, 10, 15, all that you like.
Yeah, so actually, I've been doing this, like shrinking down my life and like going to a temple or something, like stay there for a while. But I feel like for me, it's not, it's inconsistent. Like, for example, during one period, I feel like I'm affected by external things, and then like I don't have peace of mind. Then I go to, for example, a retreat for some time, and then I feel like really good. I'm improving and I have peace. Then I go out like back to my normal life, and maybe temporarily I lost interest in like being consistent to achieve like enlightenment or peace. Then after a while, maybe I get annoying again, and then I come back like to, for example, this trip coming to Chiang Mai. It's also like my way of like kind of escaping. Like, and right now, like I attend this class, and I feel like I'm learning something, I'm improving, I'm thinking about myself, thinking about self growth, and maybe after some time I feel better, but then and I'm interested in like Buddhism or reading all these things about enlightenment. Then after some time maybe I feel better, then I'm not consistent again.
Yeah, that's the key. There needs to be consistent learning and growth. What happens is when you start feeling good, your mind might be complacent, or you become dull or lethargic or lazy about doing this inner growth. So you need to consistently grow over multiple years, because when you're in your life is wide open and you're experiencing all these different things from your life being wide open, and maybe you're making certain unwise decisions that are producing unwholesome results, and you don't maybe like what's going on in your life. But then you kind of escape and you retreat to this retreat environment where people are on their best behavior and everyone's being kind and polite, and maybe you're even in a silent retreat where nobody's even talking, so there's no interaction, right? So you're kind of go from one extreme of things are wide open all the way to the other extreme where everything's shut down. And then in that situation, you may not be learning the things that you need, the tools and the techniques that when you return to your life, you can sort out your life. So when I teach retreats, I actually don't teach silent retreats. I teach retreats what I consider to be more in the middle. It's called an active retreat, where you're learning and growing for about 3 hours in the morning. And then we go out in the day and we spend time doing activities together so you can integrate the teachings into your life. And then we come back in the evening and we learn some more for a couple of hours here. This way the teachings get integrated into your life. But oftentimes what people do is they go from their life, which is wide open, to this perfect sterile environment, and they're not necessarily learning how to take the tools and techniques from there and bring them into their life, because over here, everybody's on their best behavior, everything's quiet. But that's not true reality. You can't live your life that way. You're going to need interaction. So that's why I do it the way that I do, which is I teach for 3 hours, go do some activities, and then come back and you can learn some more. So you're going to need to learn how to consistently learn over time. So that's why I have this program on Sundays and Wednesdays that you can attend here, or you can attend online. You can come in each Sunday, each Wednesday, get a little bit of learning each Sunday and Wednesday. And when you can't come live, then you can watch the recording, because it's recorded on YouTube and Facebook, on our podcast. And I teach at 9 a.m. in the morning and 9 p.m. at night. So no matter what time zone you're in, you should be able to find a live class or the recording from that class. And you can just kind of drip feed this into your mind. So I suggest students start with the first book of the book series, which is volume 1. It's over there on the shelf. You can download this for free from our website if you like to get it for free. You can take the file and go print it if you like, or you can get printed versions here at the temple, or even on Amazon. If you go to Amazon, you can get it from there if you have access to Amazon. So if you start gradually, slowly learning from the first book and coming to the Sunday and Wednesday classes, this is how you can gradually learn. But I also have other things too. Like this Friday, we have what's called game night, where students can come here at 6 p.m. and you can participate in game night, like a social activity where we have board games and food and fun and different things. This Saturday at 9 a.m., we have our Polycanon and English study group. At 1 p.m., I have an introduction to the teachings of the Buddha, or the path to enlightenment. Then on Sunday, we have our group learning program. And then on Monday, I have a course, which is a 5-day course in the foundations of the teachings of the Buddha. So there's lots of activities coming up over the next 10 days that if somebody's interested in learning here, they can, or they can learn online. So you're going to need to consistently learn and grow, and then integrate the teachings into your life, that you're not just sitting in a retreat meditating somewhere, because that's oftentimes what retreats are, is they just meditate for 10, 12 hours, but you're not learning the wisdom of how to make wise decisions in your life. That's what you need to learn, is the natural laws. Just meditating won't get you to enlightenment. You need to meditate, and you need meditation to get to enlightenment, but you need all these teachings that the Buddha shared. So that's why there's so many books, 13 books in the book series, and there's the various classes, courses, and retreats to help you learn those teachings. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, if you guys have more questions here, you're welcome to ask. We have some coming in on YouTube. My question is regarding, this is Tanya. My question is regarding breathing mindfulness meditation. How do I focus on the breath in between saying the affirmations? So here it sounds like, Tanya, you're confusing the breathing mindfulness meditation and the loving kindness meditation. With the breathing mindfulness meditation, you're focused on the breath. That's the breathing mindfulness, focused on the breath. Anytime it moves off, you cut that off and bring it back. With loving kindness meditation, it's a different meditation with different goals and different objectives. And there you're doing those affirmations and you're focused on the affirmation, on the out breath. Just you breathe in, and then when you get to your out breath, you repeat the affirmation in your mind. May I be peaceful. May I be safe. May I be well. May I be free of discontentedness and the suffering it causes. So you do those, but you don't focus on the breath necessarily. You just do it on the out breath. And then Tanya also asked this, should I say each ring of affirmation together, then back to the breath, or in between? Please make suggestions, clarify. Thank you, Teacher David. Okay, so I think I answered that too, Tanya. So thank you for your question there, and perhaps that helped you. Any other questions here at the temple? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, David. Sometimes the desire and the bad feelings can translate to maybe the motivation for us to develop ourselves. We want the better jobs or a better house, and we just make some efforts to get us to reach these goals. But there can come with some bad feelings. So my question is, so if we eliminate the desire, does we lose some opportunity for us to develop ourselves? And which desire is good or which is bad? Or how can we handle with the bad feelings?
Okay, great. So in the unenlightened state, all we typically understand is how to pursue certain things based in craving, desire, attachment. We chase it. We long and we yearn for things. So we chase and chase and chase and chase. And if we get what we want, we experience pleasant feelings. And if you don't get what you want, you experience painful feelings. This is the whole problem and the cause of the problem. But also on the other side, if you were indifferent and you didn't do anything and you could care less about what goes on in your life, you wouldn't be able to experience improvement and beneficial results in your life. So the unenlightened mind can typically only see crave, 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 chase, chase, chase. If I get what I want, I'm happy. If I don't get what I want, I'm sad. Or it can see this other side of, I just don't do anything and I'm unmotivated and lacking enthusiasm. But there's this middle way that the unenlightened mind can't see very clearly because it's not used to doing this. There's this middle way where you can pursue goals and objectives and interests with ambition, with enthusiasm, with motivation, but without craving, desire, attachment. So for example, think about the Buddha. When he awoke to enlightenment, he understood these teachings. He had ambition. He had enthusiasm. He spent 45 years from the age of 35 to the age of 80 sharing those teachings to help countless people get to enlightenment. But he did it without longing and yearning. So this word desire or want, we're so used to using that in the unenlightened state. We say, Mom, I want you to come to the movies. Or Mom, do you want to eat some dinner? Or brother, do you want to come to our house for dinner, right? We tend to use this word a lot, but when you start understanding and you get in touch with what this word really means, is it represents this longing and yearning in your own mind that, Mom, I want you to come to dinner. And now if Mom says yes, then you get happy. But if she says no, you feel angry or sad or frustrated or annoyed or some other discontent feeling. So when you get rid of that and you realize, like, I would like to invite Mom to dinner. And if she comes, that's great. And if she doesn't come, that's fine too. I'm just going to invite her because it's a wise decision to practice generosity with my mom or any other number of people that you might practice generosity with. And when you get rid of your wanting and your craving and your desire, you can invite somebody, and if they come, great. And if they don't come, that's fine too. You feel completely fine. And the same thing with pursuing goals and objectives like your careers. Like, you need a certain amount of money in your life, and you need to be able to pursue that as a goal, objective, or interest. But it's when you're craving it, when you're desiring it, when you're basing your inner feelings on this money, that you sabotage your mind, that you're going to experience discontentedness, that if you're making $50,000 a year, you're happy. But if you're making, $45,000, you're sad. You're basing your inner feelings on this money. And now the mind's thinking that this money is what's going to make me feel happy, where in reality, there's just a certain amount of money that you need, and you can pursue that. You can actually be rich and wealthy and enlightened at the same time. That's possible. But the mind needs to get to the point where you're not forming your inner feelings based on this money or your career or what your boss is choosing to do or not do. But the mind doesn't know how to do that. And that's what you're learning, is you're learning how to strip away these cravings, desires, attachments, and you're learning how to not be indifferent and dull and lethargic, but instead come to the middle, gradually pursue things. And then in some cases, you're going to accomplish your goal. Wonderful. In other cases, you're not, and that's okay too. You've learned and you've grown and you've accomplished something. So the mind needs to learn how to do this, and it doesn't know how to do it in the unenlightened state. And that's part of what you're learning, how to live this better way of life where you can have ambition and enthusiasm, work towards a goal, but without craving, desire, attachment. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions you guys have? No? Okay. So what I'm going to do then is just thank all of you guys for joining. Thank you for coming. Thank you for asking questions, those of you guys here at the temple and everybody online. And at the same time, invite you guys to come back for future classes if you'd like. As you guys heard me share, we have game night on Friday. On Saturday, we have the Pali Canon and English study group, as well as an introduction to the path to enlightenment. On Sunday, we have the group learning program. I'm going to be in chapter 7, which is the 5 precepts, a householder's guide to daily practice. And then on Monday, I'm going to be starting a course called Foundation in the Path to Enlightenment. You can attend this here. You can attend it online as well. This is all the foundational teachings that you need in order to be able to get to enlightenment. So if you'd like to attend any of those, you can attend here, you can attend online as well. So thank you all for coming, and perhaps we'll see you guys in a future class. Have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. Sawadee khap, sawadee khap, sawadee khap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.